couple follow-up questions.
When we started, this journey this season, we started with the goal of winning the ACC and winning a national championship, and so we are grateful to be in a position with 2 games left, to have a decent seed in the tournament and to be in contention to win the ACC, and we're excited to be back in the Petersen Events Center. And we, I think we're about 7,000 or 8,000 pre-sold, so we're expecting a great crowd. And these games haven't disappointed the fans over the last few years, and I'm sure this will be another heated battle.
With the way that everything's so bunched up at the top of the standings, is this kind of what you expected when they expanded and brought in teams like Stanford and SMU? Did you kind of figure it was going to come down to something like this?
Yeah, well, SMU, when they came in, we knew they'd be good, because they had they were a strong team coming. I think they were 35 RPI the previous year, so we knew they'd be good, but I don't know if we knew they'd be top 10 good, but definitely with Stanford, and then you're also just seeing really good teams this year from Miami, UNC, Florida State are still really strong in the battle to make the tournament. So yeah, I think what I said at the start of the year is held true. We are the strongest conference in the country, and it's proven now if you look at the top 10.
Well, regardless of who winds up on top, do you feel like the ACC could still get 2 of the top 4 seeds in the tournament?
I'd be surprised if we had 2. I think we could. We'll see how it plays out, but I would think 1 for sure.
Dane, you've talked a lot about growth this season. In terms of showing how far you've come, what are you hoping to see from this game on Wednesday?
Well, this is kind of more of a statement about this team in general as we make our tournament run. But I think I think we're still getting better, and that's something I like about this team. But I think there's times in practice and there's times in game, like when we're playing our best, we're really, really good. And maybe our lower end has been a little lower than I'd like it at times, but when we're playing our best, it's really exciting. And so that's what I want to see. I want to see more of our best.
How much can a game like this on Wednesday, the competition level, serve as a primer for the ACC tournament and beyond?
For the NC2A tournament?
Yeah.
This is, you don't want to overplay any one game, but I think we find ourselves, we probably can't lose any more games and win the ACC. And so I think we're kind of already in the same mentality we'll be in the tournament, where it's you got to win or you go home, and we'll be in front of a big crowd, and obviously we think we're in a good spot to to host the first 2 rounds, ideally so we'll be in the same place. So yeah, we're looking at it as the same type of energy we'll feel the next couple weeks, hopefully in the same venue.
In the 2 conference matches you've lost this year, is there any one overarching thing you can put your finger on that was maybe a little deficient in those matches, or was it something, or is there not like one thing you can point to?
Both games is kind of how the tournament's going to be. It's going to be, you just make one more play and you win it, right? And that's how volleyball is at a high level. Both the overarching theme of those was scratching my head when I looked at the box score at the end, when we had a hit for a higher percentage and blocked more and dug more and scored more points in the match. So I think there hasn't been a game. It's something I like about this team. We haven't really been blown out, or we've been in it every time, and so there were games that we lost, but just knew we could have won.
Dan, with 4 starter level outside hitters, what goes into the decision of who you're going to play each day? And I know not all of them have been available the whole time, but like really what are you weighing when you have the options?
Mostly how they've been performing in practice. But then there's been injuries and times that, like certain players got a chance and then didn't look back, and Marina's been one of those players. And then Sophie is, quite frankly, someone who's been, she's been getting better in practice, but she's been doing even better in game. And so we have to look at that too as coaches and see who's performing in game. And but yeah, we'll see how tomorrow's practice goes and then who's available on Wednesday.
Coach, this is a very changed Louisville team from last year. Obviously, 2 new outside hitters, new libero. I mean, what are the things that you see that are sort of similar from this team under new head coach Dan Meskey, and also some of the things that have been a bit changed, especially from your last matchup back in October against?
Yeah, well, they still play really hard, and as we watched some of our last game, like any team in the top 10, they're able to make incredible plays on defense. They have maybe a more physical right side block than they've had the last couple years. And they just keep the ball alive, cover balls. There's going to be a lot of long rallies where the fans will think the ball's down, but it's not. So I think we've got to be ready to grind it out of them.
Where do you think you have an advantage over them?
Well, it's Olivia has a pretty good matchup against their left side blockers, and then if you look on the season, I think we're hitting like 20 or 30 points higher. So I think we've been a stronger offensive team over time. But I feel like it's probably going to come down to defense and scrapping.
You mentioned, go ahead.
Where do you think you've improved in terms of blocking? Obviously, you have 4 middle blockers you can use at any time, but just in terms of them and using Olivia and any outside hitter, how do you think you've improved in terms of blocking over the course of these last
Yeah, I think just yesterday we were looking at some blocking stats. I think statistically it was one of Bree's best blocking stats games yesterday in terms of like good touch percentage. So the times like it touched her hands that she controlled it or funneled it or blocked it versus that she was tooled was really impressive yesterday. So I think she's been a beast. And but like in terms of the matchup for Louisville, I think they took advantage of Brooke quite a bit last time, so she needs to have a better match. Because they're any way you slice it, their left sides are going to get a lot of balls.
Just going back to the outsides, what differences stand out between the 4 of them, and what scenarios are individually are they good at that you would want one another over the other?
Well, Dagmar has been the strongest in serve receive and is maybe the best as a very strong blocker. I think both Marina's really improved she's a good blocker too, really improved, but her and Blair are also physical blockers. Blair's been kind of like the most steady offensively. Like she's had very few like just games where she totally goes off, but she just always seems to get 3 kills a set and hit 300. So she's been the most steady and really improved in the back row. I would say that Marina is like the all-around good player. She doesn't have a weakness, and she just makes plays. And when she's scoring offensively, we're pretty tough because she does everything else so well. And Soph is maybe our most powerful, especially on a bad set. She can still generate a lot of, heat from 8-10 feet off the net. And she also has probably the best line shot. I mean, she can last minute really exploit, a right side block. So that's how I look at kind of their strengths. But I think at any given day, any one of them could just go off.
Maybe like a sidebar question, but I was talking to Olivia a couple of weeks ago, and obviously she was extremely highly recruited, but she said when she came here, it just felt like home, and she didn't feel like, you were just grasping at her as a player, but as a person. What has gone into developing your recruiting strategy in that way, and what have you done to make it feel that way for players like Olivia and beyond, to just make it feel like that home atmosphere?
Well, I don't think that's changed. I think, when I got here 13 years ago, I wasn't that known in women's volleyball. I was probably more known on the men's side. We had a lot of historical success for the last few years. There wasn't like this story of recent success. It's a good school. We had that to sell, but mostly we were selling, ourselves and the vision, and part of that vision was, we're going to value you as a person and a player. And I think, that's true with all special team cultures. And so really the sales pitch is now, it is more of a business, and we can point to all the successes we've had now, whether it's transfers or developing freshmen. But really it's, it's going to be high challenge, high care. We're still kind of selling the same thing.
How do you transition to having, you guys have been pretty successful in this building the last few years. I don't think you've lost since probably 2019. So like post-COVID, you guys have been pretty much undefeated since then.
Yeah.
How do you try and maintain this sort of the same level of success against some of the better teams? You obviously play with the best teams here. So how do you try and maintain that level of success against some of the best teams when they come in this building? Like you're generally not playing here.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. We don't try to maintain, we're just trying to get better. And so I think when you try to maintain, you run into some problems. So we just look at it like, hey, here's the areas we want to get better, to be able to win a national championship and win the ACC, and just continue to think about that, and then get more specific to teams we play, where we want to attack them and how we want to defend them.
Marina isn't often the flashiest player, but what does she show? What does she bring that doesn't show up on the stat sheet?
Well, she's probably a better defender than people realize, because she's good at defending. She reads the game really well. So she's good at defending hard hits, but also like, if someone shoves the ball or rolls it to the middle, she's always there. And she's got she's really, the girls like playing with her. She's got a really good spirit on the court. So I don't know what that doesn't show up on the stat sheet. And then we talked about her improved blocking earlier.
I want to go back to the ACC race for just a second. Sort of a wild card in it, and I apologize if this is the dreaded looking ahead, but Georgia Tech is your last game, and they also play Stanford, if I'm not mistaken. How tough of an out is that team? Because they're a team that's been a top 20, very recently. So how tough of an out are they going to be, and what kind of problems do they pose?
Well, that gym is extremely loud. And so it's one of the harder places to play. It's been, for whatever reason, we've played well there over the years. I guess maybe the team likes it when they can't hear their coaches. But I think it's probably as tough of an out as it's ever been, because I think they're probably in the tournament, but if you're them, they're probably thinking, hey, we need to get one more resume win just to make sure. So I think
the desperation thing makes them a little more
I think
dangerous.
they're just they probably are feeling like, hey, we want to control our own destiny and win that game.
Okay.
I hate to ask, but Blair didn't play yesterday, and I know you mentioned rest, but I did see her in warm-ups get hit. Are you hoping to have her and or Dagmar available for tomorrow?
Yeah, we're hopeful for both. Dagmar looked the best she's looked this morning, so TBD.
How have you seen this rivalry sort of develop over the past, I guess, 7, 8, 10 years maybe, since both teams have started to be atop the ACC and being to now?
It's been just a really good, not like standard for us. Like the standard of if we can beat Louisville, we know we're amongst the best nationally. I think they feel the same way about us. The rivalry kind of changes a little bit, as the players change, but it was interesting to see our team, cheering at times this year for Louisville when they wanted someone else to lose, to get us back in the hunt for the ACC. But I think it's been overall really good for the sport and really healthy.
Other than Olivia's first game against Louisville, she tends to perform very well against them.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think it is about specifically Louisville that causes her to just go off?
Well, I think Olivia has a tendency to perform really well against every top team. So that's probably why.